Hi.
All right, we'll go ahead and start it off. And first, we're just going to talk about lesson plans first. So, what are some main components for lesson plans that you think are what you always have to have in a lesson plan?
Definitely the standard that you're standard. Our standard, our essential questions, reasoning for why we're learning it, and a goal for the student to work towards. And then any vocabulary that they're going to be using throughout that week or whatnot.
Right. What do you like to start with when you're planning? Do you like to start with the standard, or do you use like last week's lessons, or like what do you start
I
with?
mainly look. Sorry, my connection's going out.
It's fine.
Okay, sorry. No, sorry, my connection's like going out. So like your question was like stopping and then it kept going. Can you hear me? Good.
Uh huh.
Okay. Mainly, okay. So I look at like what the end goal is for like that week or whatnot. And since we're using, Reading Wonders, it has it laid out very nicely with like the key components like that they're wanting students to learn for that week. And then I like to look at, my main goals for each day, and then like I go based off of that. So I mainly see like what the objective is,
Mhm.
and then I'm like, okay, like what are the necessary steps to get there?
Right. I think that's real important. So some of the main components that um we've been talking about in our class are definitely learning targets. Those I know for our school, we have to have those posted. We have to have those in our lesson plans. Essential question. I know you mentioned Reading Wonders. Reading Wonders provides those
Mm-hmm.
for us for each weekly theme for each unit. The standards. Everybody has their standards for their grade level, so those aren't a problem. The learning activities, how we tie those into the standards, and for each student, how we differentiate. And I know with you, you're definitely differentiating for your students. Um, Either formative or summative assessments, which we will be talking about um, when we get to our student work, and the success criteria, which goes along with the learning targets, which we post, and which we that is a requirement for our school too.
Mm-hmm.
That ties back into, like I said, the learning target. So a lot of that we are already including, and those I think are major components. You named some of them, so you're on the right track there. um, so I just have a few questions um, about some of the lesson plans, and I'm going to share my screen and just pull up the lesson plan that I use mainly to um, dive into your lesson planning. Um, so first off, I was looking at the standards. We covered all of the standards, and this one was the kindergarten one that I was looking at. And I know you cover several grades, so I was just looking at mainly kindergarten. And they had a lot of standards for this one unit. And then we had the learning target success criteria, and why is this important to learn for this unit or for this week. And then we included the assessment, so beginning with the end in mind. um, and there's going to be an end of unit reading test for this one. um, and you had those assessments in your work too, like I said. Sight word assessment, um,
Mm-hmm.
and formative assessments while they're asking questions. And the questioning is down here too, or here's some DOK questioning. And the essential question is mentioned in here. And I like
Yeah.
how you introduced, or you said vocabulary, which is real important. We've been talking about having that vocabulary, making sure that students are aware of those new words and really what they mean before they're introduced to them in the story, and having that all laid out in details in the lesson plan. I think you did a really good job in the lesson plan too. It's if anybody came in your class and was able to pull this lesson plan out, they'd be able to see where you were. Um, Let me go down to the assessments on Friday. because then on Friday the assessment is down there too. All right. So I just had a couple of questions, like I said. Or actually, I made a couple of comments first. So for the learning target, I can pull the lesson plan back up because we're going to referring to it. It says, can the learning targets be measured? And I figured the answer for that was through the Reading Wonders assessments, because the entire lesson plans are being given to us from Reading Wonders. So the assessments are from Reading Wonders too. So that's how we're measuring that learning target to make sure the students are meeting their growth. So the learning target is the next one I said, is the learning target a restatement of the standard? So is it in kid-friendly language as well? To me, I think once the kids are introduced to those vocabulary, like the main topic, key details, I think that's kid-friendly, because they'll be able to understand, especially at this point of the year, when you're like, can you give me a key detail? They should be able to know what you're talking about.
Know what that means.
Mhm.
Yeah.
All right. So the learning activities, how do you provide your learning activities from the Reading Wonders work, like in the lesson?
I use Class Kick. My kids.
And do you find things that are like tied in?
Sorry. Okay, it was lagging.
No, you're fine. Do you find things that tie into the standards and like the learning target?
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, this, like with Reading Wonders, it definitely does a good job of showing you like different activities that you can use, different read alouds and whatnot that can use that directly tie into the learning target for that week. So I definitely utilize those a lot.
Okay, good. Yeah, I like that. And I like that Reading Wonders has those resources online too that you can quickly pull if you just want something with that unit or for that week specifically. Tie into even the story that you're reading, that you can go back and they can do main topic and key details going with that story. I think that's really good. So let's talk about your assessment part of your lesson plan. How do you track data coming from your lesson plans? Or how do you just track your data from your assessments? There we go.
You're from. So obviously, I give them like on Monday. So I take this lesson plan with kindergarten and I modify it for like first grade and things like that. So on Fridays when we do our assessment and they take their Reading Wonders quiz, I just look at like what each question compares to.
Mm-hmm.
So like if student A keeps getting a lot of the comprehension questions wrong, then the week after that we're going to focus really in on comprehensions, being able to answer those questions afterwards, not just like what the raw score of that quiz is, but what those questions actually were quizzing him about.
Do you make an item analysis?
Not for every week, but yes.
Okay, because I was going to suggest that might be helpful for you too.
Yeah.
Because I know I do that a lot. And then when we did RTI last year, when we had that RTI block, that really helped me plan those RTI times, like if a student needed help in beginning sounds, like I know on those
Yeah.
assessments, there's like questions for beginning sounds or blending. Like if a student is, like I have 3 students, for instance, missing only beginning sounds, that would be my RTI group. So I can go back and cover that. So that was always
Yeah.
good for me to do after giving an assessment. So if that's something
Yeah.
that you weren't doing, but you said you do it sometimes, so that's definitely helpful. The times that you don't use reading wonders, how do you add rigor if there isn't a time you always use reading wonder quizzes?
For reading, yes, I always use reading wonders for reading. Just because it's consistent with my people, and if they don't have consistency, their world blows up.
Yeah, I am right there with you. Does each student have a different test, or is it just your grade levels?
So each grade level has the same test.
Okay.
Like first grade all has the same test. They're assessed differently. So they don't know this because, I don't want them to know that they're different.
Mm-hmm.
But like one of my friends, can't just sit there and listen to the test, listen to the story, answer questions. She has to sit down and listen to me re-explain what the question's asking. So like
Yeah.
they're assessed on the same things, but
And I like that you have them on Class Kick now, or right now it works on Class Kick too, because even if you did have to give like a 3rd grader a 1st grade test, they wouldn't know that they're having a different test because you're reading the questions and they're probably wearing headphones during the test. So even though they're all in the same room, they're not going to know that someone has a different test. Because if it was like a paper test, you can kind of see like, oh, so and so's got a different test than me. He's sitting right next to me. But on the iPad, you can't really tell because Class Kick it's just like an app for them. So I kind of like that better in that aspect. And definitely reading the questions on Class Kick really helps the students. So let me see. So on the lesson plan, is mastery of the learning target the number one focus of the lesson plan?
is what the focus? What was the question?
Is mastery of the learning target the number one focus of the lesson plan?
Yes. I mean, yes, because I want my students, be able to master it. But I also think just growth in itself is, the goal of the lesson plan for them to grow. But I mean, yes, I want them to be able to master, different things, or at least grow towards working towards mastery.
Okay. All right. So do you post your learning targets in your classroom too?
Mhm.
Okay, I thought you did. Why do you think it would be beneficial to do that?
To keep the kids accountable, like have them take responsibility for their own learning, and like for them to just know what they're learning.
Okay, so after having this conversation about lesson plans, I'm gonna close this out. What what was the positive trend in instruction and the lesson plans? What did you notice?
Consistency with me, I mean, it helps me drive when you have the learning target, the goal, the success criteria. Like it helps me stay on track and it helps my students understand or at least know what they're learning or what their goal is. So I definitely think that's a positive trend with, both the kids and I. Also, it helps me just keep myself accountable with like assessments and just understanding why assessments are so important.
So how will you use this to improve student learning?
How will I use the lesson plan
Um,
to improve student learning?
how will you use what you just realized about your instruction, or your
Yeah.
lessons?
Okay. Definitely continuing to do it and just making sure that I go in depth with the learning target and what will make us successful in that learning target each week with my kids. So that way they're able to really grasp it and really understand by the end of the week, like, okay, did I learn this? If not, what am I still confused about?
Okay, what is the most important area of growth that was shown from your lesson plans?
I know we've been talking about questioning a lot, for our
Mhm.
peers goal and just including the DOK questions in that learning, in the lesson plan. I definitely think shows growth for me, coming from unsure about how I'm using questions and how to group questions to now using, turn in talks and things like that. I definitely think helped a lot and has shown a lot of growth.
Right. Yeah, using that new strategy would be really good. All right. So before our discussion, the questioning was our focus. And we had talked about our strategy of the turn and talk. Would that would you want that still to be your focus?
Yeah, yes, because looking at the lesson plan, I don't have turn and talks in the lesson plan. So that would still be a good focus of just like, yes, I've been using them more often than I used to. Just making sure that I implement that in the lesson plan to, you know, hold myself accountable so that way it's not just, a trend that goes away.
Okay, so now we're gonna create your new peers goal. That has to do with just lesson plans.
Mhm.
Okay, so the rationale, we're going to say, after reviewing your lesson plans.
Mhm.
All right. Okay, so at this moment, my peers goal is okay, and so remember peers, this is what it stands for down here. So
Probably to maybe like ensure that the questioning strategies are listed in the lesson plan rather than just the questions themselves.
in lesson plans, powerful questions. Do you want to say like each week? So it's
Yeah, at least like, each week there's showing that there's a questioning strategy being done somewhere in that week.
To ensure the question strategies. Oh wait, no, that doesn't make sense. Oh wait, okay. To ensure the questioning strategies
Are implemented in the lesson plan, or
are lesson plan. What about to ensure the questioning strategies are implemented in the lesson plan? I will
think of when, or I will plan or look at when the best time to use the strategy would be throughout the week. So I probably wouldn't use it on the first day around introducing vocabulary, introducing a concept. I will
while introducing the
look at student learning.
Because you could do it like during comprehension, during oh, we may not be talking about just reading. You said when introducing new vocabulary and
yeah, probably when going through the learning target for that day. And then you can just like review, like, okay, like during the learning target, like I know my people, whenever we do our I can statements, normally our I can statement has a vocab word in it. So we'll review our vocab word then. And that can be like, that's when I normally use my turn and talk strategies.
yeah. So to ensure question strategies are implemented in the lesson plan. I don't know how to connect that. To ensure the questioning strategies are implemented in the lesson plan. Review with the learning target for the day.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right, so we're going to use that for instruction.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel reaching this goal will promote student learning?
Promotion. Basically by, the more strategies that are implemented for their questioning, like the more the students will be able to reflect on their learning and reflect on what they've learned thus far, so that they can continue the learning process for that week.
The more they'll be able to reflect on their learning.
Mm-hmm. For that week.
Okay, so what research-based strategies can be used to reach this goal? So turn and talk.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what is the teacher's part in the process of reaching this goal? You would have learning targets already created. Since you said you want to introduce them or use it during learning targets.
Yeah, and probably going ahead and finding those questions to ask them. Having those questions prepared to go ahead and ask during the learning target time. Also, sorry if I'm speaking over you because my connection's lagging. So
no, it's okay because
it might-
I wait and I'm like, did she hear me?
Super sorry.
It's breaking up.
That happened just now.
Yeah. Okay, so my role, I can review the questions if you would like.
Yeah.
And learning target. Okay, so let's do a timeline. So, hold on. Okay, so the first thing you're gonna do is you're gonna create your lesson plan.
Right.
What?
Would the next one be me sending you the lesson plan or you reviewing the lesson plan?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then you can implement. And then, did I spell that wrong? Lesson. Okay. Then after the lesson plan, we can come back and have like a quick chat about what worked.
Okay. Yeah, like a reflection.
Yeah. Okay. Teacher. And all right, so we will do this after spring break. Do you want to wait a week after spring break? Like,
Yes.
we can say you plan the lesson, your lesson plan. We'll just say, because I know you have a little leeway with when yours are due. We'll say yours, you plan it the 8th through the 11th.
Okay.
8th through the 11th. And then you'll teach it the 12th through, I don't remember what day that was. The 12th through the 16th. That week. Oh, not next one. 4, 12, 16. So you could send that to me the 11th. and I can review it. And then we can reflect on that 16th, that afternoon.
Yeah.
All right, and I'll type our names down here. All right, so now we're going to talk about the students' work. And we kind of already discussed a little bit about like your assessments, which you sent to me. I also really liked the sight word pages in the class kick, and the letters, because they had to identify the letters, and on the sight words they had to like trace that.
And that's
really
big with my kinders is, sight
Yeah,
word.
because I remember you were talking about Sammy does the rainbow right, and I love that. I think I'm gonna add that to some of my class kick pages, because I didn't think about doing the rainbow right like that. I just had them like I had some lines on like writing
Oh, yeah.
paper, and I told them rainbow right, but I liked how it was like trace in the word, that they can use any color. I think they'll like that better. Um,
Mm-hmm.
So, I also want to talk about teacher feedback. We're doing student work and teacher feedback. So, I saw on the class kick where they did the assessment, and it was the multiple choice, which I like that feature a lot. I haven't really used it, but I like that it gives the instant feedback, and I'm sure the kids like that they get their assignment already graded. Um, they do what now?
Right. Sorry, I didn't say anything. I think I was going to say something and then I forgot what. No, and my kids, they use sorry, we use like the stickers on Class Kick.
I was gonna ask
And like and like there's one that says that I use it's take a look, and I'll highlight like on their assessments for some of mine. The ones that can do it without me verbally having to like sit here and like explain to them, all right, let's look at this, let's reword it.
Yeah.
I can just highlight the question and I'll know I need to go back and review that question.
I was gonna ask if you use the stickers and if you imported like your own sticker. I love that you can make your own stickers.
Oh yeah.
My kids love it. Like that, I like that Class Kick is live. Like you can see the kids working, and then you can see what page they're on, because I will go on there, especially like I've been at TSC trainings, and I'll give them a Class Kick to do, and I'll just watch them working, and I'll give them stickers and everything, and they'll be so excited. I'll text Miss Boykin and be like, are they working? And they'll be like, yeah, you're giving out stickers, and they're so excited. So they love the stickers. So I bet your kids love them too. Like little kids, they love stuff like that. I don't know if have you seen the feature for voice record too? Do you use that one?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
that I was gonna suggest that as another way to do feedback, because I know when you downloaded the work to send to me, I couldn't really. I saw that you had recorded like instructions, but I didn't know if any of those were like feedback either. So I was gonna suggest that as a way to give feedback.
Yeah.
I think that's an awesome way to give feedback. Like while they're working, and you're like trying to help them out.
Yeah.
Do your kids go back and look at their class kits?
So for certain subjects, yes, like writing, they do, because they, there's like graphic organizers that they have for writing, and so they'll go back and look at those on their previous class kicks. And then for reading, yes, whenever we're having to review like certain concepts, like we'll review what we did, we'll go back and like check over our work for the previous day. So occasionally, yes, depending on what we're doing.
So how do you use your students' work? Do you just like assign it to them and then they have it for like the whole week, or is it a daily thing?
It's a daily thing, especially because a lot of my kids need that, like if I were to be like, okay, here's everything for this week, I have some kids that would get really overwhelmed by that. And then I have to be like, okay, I'm just going to go ahead and finish everything and have nothing to do for the rest of the week. So it's definitely a day by day thing, where they get the link and stuff. And then we do like, our instruction time or review time, and then they'll go on there and complete their work or review their concept, depending on what that is.
Okay, so I also have something else I'm going to share with you. Zoom in. And this is going to reflect back with the Danielson that we've talked about before. And I'm going to let you help rate yourself in these certain areas for classroom environment and instruction. And it's just the classroom environment and instruction. It's domain 2 and 3. So I'm just going to highlight them, which ones you pick. All right, so creating an environment of respect and rapport. Do you think it's beginning, developing, proficient, and or distinguished?
Proficient. I want to say distinguished, but I'm always my worst critic.
So why do you give yourself that?
Just because I mean, that's the main thing that I focus on before, teaching or anything, is making sure that my kids and I have a mutual relationship of respect and whatnot, and just building that relationship, because I know they're not going to want to do anything for me if they don't respect me or, have that relationship with me.
Okay, so let's look at establishing a culture for learning.
Proficient.
Okay, what about that one?
Mostly because my students, they come into the room like we're working, learning, we have a job, and so there's, make it the joke first, and they're excited when they come in to learn or do whatever it is that we're doing, and they get really excited to have that opportunity.
Okay, communicating with the students.
I don't know, like developing, because I'm still working on, being able to give that feedback. Like I'm good with communicating with my students in terms of like what I expect from them, classroom expectations. And I just got a notification. It's dying. Okay, I'm back.
Okay, and engaging students in learning.
Fun as possible for them, even though sometimes they don't want to be there. I find things that are based off of student interests to keep them involved.
Which one did you say for engaging students in learning?
Proficient, because I try to keep things, within their interest so that they stay involved in it and that they stay, they want to be, just a circle and whatnot, just for them to stay active and interested in what they're doing.
All right, so 2 more. Using assessments in instruction.
Developing, because I use those assessments, but like you said, I could be doing, and I do itemize things for every now and then, but I could be doing more with them, with the itemized list and whatnot, and looking at my students' work.
Okay, what about demonstrating flexibility and responsiveness?
Girl, distinguished.
Have been very flexible this year.
Oh yeah. I don't like giving myself distinguished because always room for growth, but that one, distinguished.
Yeah. I feel like your schedule too, you're very.
Oh my gosh, yes. My schedule, my room, my kids.
Oh my goodness, you have moved 3 times.
Oh yeah, I moved 3 times. I've gained 12 new kids. Give them all to me,
Schedule.
Gotta roll with the punches.
Changes. New students. Okay, so
Constant.
what positive trends in what we just reviewed did it reveal, like going over this data right here? And I can zoom out so you can see it all. Let me see if I'll zoom out just a tad more. There we go.
I put student.
So you put students first?
I think a positive for me. Like,
did you say that you put students first? Are you back?
can you hear me?
Yes. Did you say you put students first?
Okay. Sorry. Sorry. Did you see my little? Did you see that?
No.
My whole Zoom went out, and so I went like this. I went, and then I saw your face, and I was like, she just saw all of that. Yeah, I said that I put students first. Sorry.
Okay. What is the most important area of growth the data revealed? Maybe this one.
Most important area of growth, yeah, using assessments.
And then questioning was our area of focus before we talked about, because that was the same question as that I asked earlier. So
Mhm.
you're just going to continue doing turn and talks is what we said before.
Mhm. And just making sure that they're in the lesson plans.
Okay, so now we're going to write your peers goal. And this is the last thing we're going to be working on. Okay, so this is based off of feedback and student work. And student work, teacher feedback. All right, so we're going to do just a teacher feedback goal. Or do you want to do a student work goal?
Okay.
We can do either teacher feedback or student work.
Probably a teacher feedback.
Okay. So do you have a specific goal in mind?
Um,
Because it doesn't have to be
probably utilizing different feedback strategies rather than just like on to best. I don't know if that makes sense or if that can be made into a goal or what.
Okay, so utilizing different feedback strategies. So making sure to put in your lesson plan different feedback strategies.
Different ways of providing feedback to kiddos.
You wanted it in the lesson plan? Is that what you said? Or you just wanted to utilize
Yeah, I'm like
it?
going ahead and planning how I
And that making sure to add different feedback strategies in the lesson plan that can help just to increase student learning.
and it can be like feedback that can be used throughout the lesson, like throughout the week, not just during the assessment time.
Okay, that'll be good. All right, so this can be classroom environment, student learning, instruction. It can be all of it. How do you feel reaching this goal will promote student learning? They get instant feedback.
Yeah.
And what were you about to say?
Like the more feedback that they get, the more reflection they'll have on it. And I think it'll deepen their understanding of the concept.
Okay, so we're just using feedback right here. Okay, so your role is to plan feedback.
Plan feedback methods.
In lesson plan. Okay, my role, I can review that for you. review lesson plan. And we can do a similar timeline that we're using for our lesson plans. This one. That way you're implementing both of them at the same time. Does that work for you?
Yeah.
Okay. Boom. I don't know what happened right there, but did I mess it up? I don't know. All right. Well, I'll get that all fixed up and I will share that with you. All right. Thank you so much for hopping on here with me. I hope you have a great rest of your night.
Absolutely.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.